My name is Neil Costa. I'm from Gibraltar and I studied the General Master of Laws. I've just returned to private practice. I'm a barrister by profession, but before that, for 8 years, I've been a minister in the government of Gibraltar, the last 3 in healthcare and justice. And I always thought that I wanted to return to academic study. And I had heard from certain people in Gibraltar who have studied in Edinburgh that they provided online courses. So then I went online and I found Edinburgh and I realised that the courses that they provided very much suited my interests, and that is why I chose Edinburgh. Apart from the fact that Edinburgh is internationally renowned to be an excellent school, and so is the Edinburgh Law School. Well, I think that the tutors are very accessible. Even though I did my degree by distance, nonetheless they were always available. They always participated and steered and guided the online discussions. Always came back with more questions, stimulated the debate, and I always found them very approachable, either during the course of the online posting or separately by email if you had any queries. And I thought that the way that they taught the course, in particular the literature they made you read, was always very much on point, and it developed all of the skills that perhaps I had forgotten, had not been in academic study for 14 years before that. So it refreshed researching skills, being able to be concise. As a politician, that wasn't necessarily my strength. Having to post 500-word answers every week really made me have to think carefully about how to structure my work, and that I thought was one of the main strengths of the course. Because I work and I study at the same time, I couldn't do any masters during the week. Or if I did very little, perhaps an hour here or there, so I had to focus and prioritise all of my master's studies over the weekend. So there was all reading, and as I said, you have to post your answers, and those answers are then selected and they're assessed, so there's a bit of pressure to make sure that you're providing the best, putting your best foot forward and providing the best answer that you can. But so long as you have at least 24 hours during the course of a week to be able to dedicate to reading and to posting your answers, I think you'll be fine. I'm starting another master's now. I started it in September. The one thing, it's interesting, I always thought that people that studied and worked at the same time were slightly on the cusp of insane, because I couldn't see how you would manage the time. But since I did the Edinburgh Masters, I couldn't recommend studying and learning enough to anybody. It really helps you with your work, funnily enough. When you are in practice, or in my case in government, you forget skills. You don't completely forget them, but they're very rusty, like researching. Having to go back to research tools, having to learn how to research, and reading 20, 30-page papers within 2 or 3 hours, and making sure that you engage with the reading in a way that will allow you to then write your essays and post your answers and then eventually do your dissertation. That skill of learning to read quickly, but in a way where you fully understand your papers, is extremely useful when you're in private practice, because of course you may have to go to court and you have briefing and papers to read, and if you can do that quickly and well, that's a hugely beneficial skill.